Hello. So if you saw my last video, you saw how I got scammed by AnastasiaDate a few years ago, and I was very angry and upset and about the whole thing. So I did some digging on this company a couple of years ago to find out who owned it and just who's responsible for this site, right? So I did some digging about on the contact pages and everything, and it was quite complicated. So anyway, I managed to get my money back, but I virtually had to, spam their whole social media to get my money back. So I was lucky enough to get my money refunded, all of it. Having said that, I still don't trust AnastasiaDate one bit. Not one bit. It's very dodgy. And I don't know how they remain operating in the United States or anywhere. I don't know how the owner is not in jail. Anyway, so I'm going to show you what I've found. I've spent a whole, evening researching this when it happened, and I spent another evening tonight just, the whole evening researching this to make this video. So it's going to be very long, but I'm only going to do this once. So what is AnastasiaDate? It's a dating company. They have experienced a denial of service attack in the past, and it says on their Wikipedia page that the people who hacked their account in Ukraine served 5 years in prison for that DDoS attack. And it's funny, it says here, with the growth of online services like AnastasiaDate, the International Marriage Broker Regulation Act was passed in 2005 to regulate the industry. And it says news outlets call AnastasiaDate the leading premium international dating website and have observed its efforts to seemingly rebrand the mail order bride industry, within which it is grouped. So I'll come back to that at the very end. But anyway, it's interesting to know that they have been attacked, and I wonder why. A thought had occurred to me myself. Okay, so I did some digging around and found out that it's actually owned by SDV Ventures, this place here, Social Discovery Ventures. So this is the company behind AnastasiaDate, and you can see the AnastasiaDate logo here, and also dating.com logo here, and a few other things going on. So I started looking into this company, and they have offices all around the world. Now I say offices, but they're not really offices. They're just little pokey little places where they can say that they have an office. They don't actually have, an office that I know about. So anyway, let's have a look. Here's some of the people involved in that. This is so I should work out I should say as well that social, sorry, I'm getting these mixed up here. I've got my tabs out of order. So this is Social Discovery Ventures on LinkedIn, and you can see all about them here. Right. So they have an Instagram page, which is kind of doesn't really give you much information about what they do. They have a YouTube page. Not many. I've got more subscribers than that, believe it or not. And they have a Facebook page. So the man behind this, the top dog behind this, site is a man by the name of Dmitry Volkov, and he's a Russian guy. And so here's his name here, Dmitry Volkov. I'll come to him in a minute. So here he is here on the website, Dmitry Volkov. Now he sees himself as a bit of an entrepreneur and kind of like what do you call it? The word's polymath. He sees himself as a polymath. So he's into philosophy and art, and he apparently has a doctorate. Well, I mean, I have a doctorate, so no biggie there. Not worth the paper it's written on. So he's getting more well known, and he's one of the top 200 businessmen in Russia, apparently, allegedly. So when I started digging, they've changed some of these Wikipedia things. He actually has a Wikipedia page now. His worth is estimated to be $750 million. Right. In 2021, he was named one of the top 5 global entrepreneurs. Well, he's a scam artist, okay? I'm telling you now. So I don't care what the fuck it says there about him, but here's his. I'll come to that in a minute. It says here, here's his Instagram, right? So he seems to like to travel a lot, and you wonder how someone who travels this much can be that rich, right? Usually they're people like Elon Musk who are fucking working their asses off 24/7. So he's fond of helicopters. I don't think that's his helicopter. There's another one that he owns. A pissy little pokey one. That one. I think that's his helicopter. So you can, if you get scammed by this company, what I suggest you do is you go to all the social media places that I've shown you, and say, where's my money, Dmitry? Where's my money? So that's what I had to do, and it worked. I got my money back. So he's kind of like a venture capital, whatever, investor. And finally, here's his YouTube channel, which he seems to be, focusing on that lately. So the other thing I should tell you is that when you pay into AnastasiaDate, you get a charge on your credit card from Soul Networks, believe it or not. Soul Networks. And so if you Google Soul Networks, you find their website, which is this one. This is Soul Networks, the company that is supposedly behind AnastasiaDate and the dating.com group. Right? It's a very they have a bunch of websites, including this other one here, Dating Positives, which is for positive. Sorry, I forgot my English then. This site here is for HIV positive, with people with AIDS and things, but it's now defunct. If you go to that site, it leads back to dating.com. So this is Soul Networks, the people that charge you for AnastasiaDate. So here's some of the people involved in that. I'm just pretty much documenting all this because, they will probably take it offline because they don't like people knowing who they really are. So you can work with them. Now here at the bottom you see some of their addresses where these people are actually supposedly located for AnastasiaDate. So you can see like Malta, Cyprus, Latvia, Hong Kong. And they're called Soul Networks, Soul Holdings, Soul Business. So they kind of change their names around a bit, and I'll come back to that. And there's also this one called Stender Solutions and another one called whatever that is, Xanco Limited. I'll come back to that. Because you see there's a lot of tabs open here. So that's Soul Networks, and they're the ones that charge your credit card for AnastasiaDate. The thing is though, I've Googled them, and people are a bit annoyed at Soul Networks because they keep charging you, and here's some complaints about Soul Networks. So they also have a LinkedIn page here, and you can find some of their Sotrudniki co-workers here. I'm banned from LinkedIn, so it won't let me see who they are anymore. Anyway, so that's that. I'll get back to here real quickly. It's very vague about what these social discovery ventures, what they actually do. You know, it's got brand investments, partnerships, co-investors. So they invest money into other companies. Like, for example, I Googled and found out this Volkov fellow invested $500,000 in Patreon. And they're all, investing your hard-earned money, Christ knows where. So, partnerships, they have their supposed partnerships. It's all very flashy, but it looks... I'll come to it in a minute. Yes, partnerships. I think what they like to do is associate their brand with more trustworthy brands. I think that's what they're trying to do here. So anyway, and then you see at the bottom there, they do have some addresses, because AnastasiaDate doesn't have any addresses on it. AnastasiaDate, and it's not just AnastasiaDate, it's Arabian Date and Asian Date and Amo Latina and Geisha Date and African Date and the whole lot of them. None of them have any actual physical addresses, which is very strange and dodgy, shady business practices, right? So it seems to me that most of their business, in quotes, business, happens in Malta. And, well, at least on paper. Because here's the address that they give for that. And I'll come back to that. So, we were up to here. Anyway, if you start Googling some of these things, like, AnastasiaDate, and I started Googling some of these things and addresses and things, and the things started coming up in Google to links to offshore leaks, right? So here is Offshore Leaks database. Here's where we start getting into the nitty-gritty of what's going on with AnastasiaDate. Here's AnastasiaDate listed in, this is linked to the Paradise Papers, right? And that, I don't know who's a shareholder of who, but that is linked to dating.com, which is in Malta, a strange place to, host a business. Here's their address, and if you Google that, you can find out more dodgy places. If you expand that, this is, if you Google that address, Geneva Tortola in the Bahamas or wherever it is, this address here, Tortola, you'll get this. All these businesses are registered at that address. So it's like something strange is going on there, right? Something strange is going on because a dozen businesses are registered at the same address. Then if you look at dating.com group, they are also mentioned in the Paradise Papers. And that comes up, and then a few names come up, Jason Skikluna and Paul Berguja, and they live in Malta, I think, and they do all the dodgy dealings on behalf of dating.com and AnastasiaDate. It seems to me that they are the tax agents that are handling all of the offshore business things that Volkov himself doesn't know how to do. So if you Sol Networks, the people that charge a credit card for AnastasiaDate also appear in those offshore leaks. So they are apparently, Sol Networks is also registered in Malta. I don't know why. They are here. Here's where you start seeing it's all connected, like a big, network of shady dealings. They are a shareholder of STV, or the other way around. I'm not a an accountant, so I don't know any of this. But it's all linked. They are all linked together. There it is. They are saying they have a company based overseas when they actually don't. It's not based in Malta. It's based, the servers are in America and Volkov lives in Russia. So I don't know how the fuck they can say it's in the Bahamas or wherever, or Malta, when he's not living there. So STV Limited. Now there's a lot of entries for STV Limited. So here's another entry for STV Limited. That's that Social Discovery Ventures. Sometimes they shorten it to STV. So that they have, if you search it, they have a lot of STV things. Now these might be from other companies. I don't know if they're all either the same company or renamed companies that are with similar names, but Malta keeps coming up. And this one's linked to Russia, strangely enough. Look, there it is, Russia. That's from the Panama Papers. I mean, no company should even be in here, right? If you're in here, it's dodgy. So here's the entry showing, that the STV is connected to Sol Networks again, and that's this supposed address in wherever the hell that is. Here's another one, STV. I don't know which ones are which, but some of these things have 300 entries, meaning, this is a very dodgy one. Look, STV Investments, same company, and then it mentions Fonseca. Now he isn't he that bankrupt guy, that massive investor that, I mean, it's all very dodgy. It is very dodgy. Now here's Dmitry Volkov himself. Volkov himself appears in the Panama Papers, and it's got his address. I don't know. I have looked at it, but it seems to be a small flat somewhere, not a big mansion, funnily enough. So maybe he doesn't live in a very big place and he invests all his money. I don't know what's going on, but he certainly doesn't pay any taxes. So, not in Russia anyway. So, he has this company here, over here, Smart Zone Development Limited. I'm not sure what the hell that's all about, but I think it's related to his business dodgy dealings in Hong Kong. And, if you search for this address in the Offshore Leaks database, you'll come up with a whole bunch of places. And I'm talking about this address here, levels 4 and 5, this address here. If you search for them, you'll come up with a whole bunch of dodgy dealings in the Paradise Papers or whatever it is. And that means that the tax agent in Malta or whatever, who's registering all these things or handling all the accounts, he handles a lot of other dodgy accounts. He's dodgy. It's just very dodgy. Very, very dodgy. So I'll stop here for a minute and show you something. And it's this. I was so angry at being scammed by a Russian billionaire that I reported the bastard to the Maltese authorities for tax evasion. And here is their reply. Good morning. Necessary action will be taken from the Compliance and Investigations team. From the government of Malta. That was over 2 years ago. So he doesn't know this yet, but Maltese tax authorities have been investigating him for 2 years. And that's part of the reason why I'm doing this video now, because it doesn't appear as though anything's happened, and so I think, well, the world has to know about AnastasiaDate. So there's that. So I also tried to find out a little bit more about these companies by looking up who registered their websites. And often that's I did it with this site here, Who Is, and they usually make it the information private. For AnastasiaDate itself is private. it says it's if you type in here AnastasiaDate, and it won't tell you what's going on. And then I also tried to look up social whatever fucking, what is it called? Social discovery networks. I tried looking them up over here. I tried looking them up, and it was all private, yeah. But they forgot to, they forgot to hide and make this information private from Sol networks. So, you can wean some data off of them here as well. And here it says, now it's saying SD networks. So they've kind of changed the name of it. So that's a little bit dodgy again. It doesn't say Sol networks, it says SD networks. And here's the address, and it's in Malta. There's a phone number. It probably won't work. So somebody has registered something apparently from Malta, but I don't think they have. I think they were in Russia. Anyway, so I was able to find out some information about that. So if you Google SD Networks Limited, it leads you here to, some tax records in the UK. And there's pages about how things are exempt, full accounts, PDF. Look, total exemptions for accounts. Now, the funny thing is, it says here, on the 5th of January 21, dissolved via voluntary strike-off. So, what is going on? Strike-off date, dissolution date of company. Apparently, they are dissolved. Seems very odd. So, we continue. Here's from earlier, you get a bunch more information, and you can Google all these people and find out more about them. But I don't have time. I've spent already 4 hours looking all this up, so I don't have time. Here's some fake accounts. Seems very little money considering he's so rich. And so that's that. And the same thing for, if we go back to this, remember I said here, I will tell you a bit more about this Xianco. If you Google that, the same thing happens. You end up it ends up leading you here to the UK. And again, Final Gazette, dissolved via compulsory strike-off. Strike-off date for the company. Dissolution date for the company. It's a dissolved company. And here's some more information. This is apparently based in the UK. Is it Malta? Is it the UK? I don't know. Anyway, you can glean a lot of weird names from this. I mean the whole thing, not just this document. I'm not referring to just this document. So, okay, then if you Google this address here, the address of the place that registered the Sol Networks place, those people, it leads you over to here. Again, you can find, if you Google it, here it is here. I've Googled that address in Malta, and the top the top result is talking about offshore leaks. So if you go there, you see this guy again, Jason Cicluna. Jason Cicluna was this one, remember? Jason Cicluna was the one that was involved in dating.com. And I mean, here's the address. And again, there's all these clusterfuck of companies involved in this. Scam, elaborate scam. Now, I'll come back to that. Now, a few years ago, I did some digging, and this email kept coming up, and I'm not sure, but I couldn't find out how I found this email. It was through a reverse search of who has registered businesses with this websites rather with this email. And this email is used to register a bunch of similar websites. Now, if you look at that thumbnail, that's a very similar layout to AnastasiaDate. And this is giving you a few more names. Soul Networks is implicated here in Malta again. And you get this name here and this other name here. Mons Industries. And she's based in Bahamas or wherever the hell that is. I don't know. So there's all these, dating scam sites here registered under this one email. And they all have this similar, I'll show you one of them. They all have a similar layout to AnastasiaDate. Oops. So half of them don't work anymore as well. Oh, that links back to an Asian date. See, that's what they do. They redirect things to keep their Google rankings high. So anyway, so there's all these dating sites, and they're all linked via a few individuals that keep making new sites all the time. As they get poor reputations, they make more. So, they also... This isn't Amo Latina, it's Amo with a hyphen Latina. So they're similar, but not, this is Arab date, not Arabian date. And so they're similar. This is Geisha date, and this leads back to, whoops. This leads back, I had a look at it. It leads back to some other thing. But they've all got this type of cursive writing there. So anyway, so that name that I've found, she appears in, this person who registers these websites appears, again, she appears in the offshore leaks. And so does this other guy. Here's this network from what I said, from, where was it? Nope. Yeah, it's from here, from here. Whoops, I'm getting ahead of myself. Yeah, I got those two names from this website, right? And that address, that email address. So yeah, if you just Google her name, the top search rank is actually saying how it's all set up in the Seychelles and stuff. So they have their money spread throughout the Seychelles and Malta and Bahamas and some other fucking places and the United Kingdom. But this is the funny thing, when you Google her name, and she's, appointed here as the director of many different companies, and they're dissolved or no longer trading. Look at this, dissolved, no longer trading, dissolved, no longer trading, dissolved, no longer trading. It's very dodgy. And here's this the guy appearing in, and he then that goes back to Malta. I don't have time to investigate all these groups further. But as I said, it's not just AnastasiaDate. It's This is now, if you look, this looks very similar to ours, is AnastasiaDate, but it's Anastasia.co. So it's like this rebranding. See this? .co. And I think it's because when they, they have backups of things, and it's very dodgy, I tell you. This is Russian brides. This also has the same cursive writing with the same beautiful women. It's all under the same network. Here's the Africa Dates one. African Date. I'll reload it. It's the same look about it. Here's Geisha Date that went back to an Asian date. So, the other thing I wanted to mention is that a bit of a weird story. I'll interrupt this whole thing. In the year 2000, this Russian woman, I think she was Russian anyway, or she might have been from Kyrgyzstan. She was murdered by a guy from the States, America, that he murdered her because their relationship fell apart and he didn't want to get a divorce and settle, the bastard. So he killed her. And after this murder, America brought in a law called the International Marriage Broker Regulation Act. And you can read all about this. But what it basically means is that if you want to marry a Russian woman in America, and you're living in America, you have to undergo a background check, which is fair enough. I think that's fair enough. After what happened, why not? But the whole reason I mention this is because AnastasiaDate in the past has capitalized on that law and said that here it says the federal statute forbids. This is talking about the International Marriage Broker Act or whatever it is. What is it called? International Marriage Broker Regulation Act, IMBRA. Right? AnastasiaDate in the past have said the federal statute forbids direct dissemination or facilitation by an international marriage broker or personal information using any of its services based on this. They are trying to twist the truth and make it seem like you cannot contact the women that you want to talk with. They are twisting the truth around. That is not what the law means. That is not what that was brought in for. That doesn't mean you can't get their contact details. It just means you, the man, have to undergo a background check, essentially. So anyway, I just wanted to show you who's behind AnastasiaDate, who is the person most responsible for it, and so that if you get scammed by a woman and you haven't got a refund, you can write on all his social media channels, this one, and this one, and even the other ones, this one, this one, and this one. You can write on there and say, give me my money back, Volkov. And here he is. Do you want your money? The question is, do you want your money funding his lifestyle? Do you want your money funding this schmuck? Because he is a schmuck, right? He's a schmuck, and a bald schmuck at that. It's a pity he doesn't spend some of that money on a hair transplant. It really is. Anyway, he seems to have quite the lifestyle, doesn't he? I'm waiting for Navalny to investigate him, but I've kind of done it myself. Anyway, I just wanted to say, I don't trust AnastasiaDate. I don't trust the women on there. I think they are being paid to chat with you. That's why they are interested in chatting with you. And that's why they're not interested. There's no benefit for them to give you your contact details because they're earning money from just the chat. The whole scam is what you pay in the chat. It's not that they're not real. These women actually exist, but they just have other lives, and you probably won't meet them. If you do, you'll get fleeced. You'll get They'll take you to a jewelry shop or something, and they'll sort of guilt trip you into buying rings and that for her. So I'm just saying that, I mean, I don't trust them. As I said, I don't trust the women. It's up for you to decide. But, here's his helicopter. Here's his schmucky helicopter again. He's even met with a Dalai fucking Lama. And I don't like what I see. I don't think it's fair what he's doing. He's ruining people's lives. He's giving people false hope and then having their dreams crushed. And meanwhile, he's raking it in. He's earning so much money, he doesn't know what to do with it, right? He's earned so much money. Well, here he is with the Dalai Lama. He doesn't. I don't think he pays tax based on what I've seen. I don't think he pays tax. That's how he affords all this shit. It's all a front. The Soul Networks is a front company, right? You decide, do you want to support this bullshit? I wouldn't. I wouldn't. If I hadn't known in the beginning all of this, what I'm showing you, there's no way I would have trusted. There's no way I would have trusted AnastasiaDate. So I'll leave it there. I hope you enjoyed my video, and I hope I've given you some new information about AnastasiaDate. Thank you for watching. Bye.